This podcast is proud to be part of the talkSPORT Fan Network. talkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Styles with a save. To the second here. A classic counter-attack, and Gibbs White puts Nottingham Forest 2 ahead. Here's Wood. 1-0 Forest. They've made an even bigger difference there. Nottingham Forest have snatched the lead at Anfield.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Red Side of the Trent as we come to you shortly after Nottingham Forest 2-0 defeat away at Newcastle United. Reality is it could have easily been 5 or 6, but for the gloves of Matt Sells. I am joined here by Reiss Lane, Danny Tring and Premier Elliott, the latter two being Red Side regulars. Reiss, you're a founding member. I'll start with you. How are you, first and foremost?
Personally, I'm fine, mate.
That's the most important thing.
Yes. How about you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Danny, what about yourself?
Yeah, same as Reiss. Personally fine. Forest-wise, not so.
Yeah. And Premier Elliott, the mood's uplifter. How are you today?
Yeah, I'll try to uplift the mood first. I'm a bit like Danny and Reiss. Yeah, I'm absolutely fine. But yeah, Forest-wise, we're all over the place. So if it's all right with you guys, I'd like to start with a silly fact first before we go into a Mad Forest tirade. Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Why not?
All right. Today's fact is in 1968, a pig was nominated to become president of the United States of America, but was arrested in the middle of his acceptance speech. Pegasus is his name, and he was nominated for the Yippie Party or the Youth Party, and he was very shy, so he had to get his running mate to do the speech for him. And basically, Chicago was having none of it. They arrested a lot of people, including the pigs. So let's begin the tirade.
The pig's got a criminal record, and Ange Postecoglou doesn't. But anyway, we'll start off with our team, Reiss, and it was a bit of a weird selection, I suppose. We went for the 3-4-3 or 5-4-1, depending how you want to see it. Obviously, Savona and Cunha got their full Premier League debuts. Yates came into midfields. How did you see that? Because that, to me, was very opposite of what Ange Ball sort of stands for. It sort of went for. It was a very, very different approach with sort of cavalier, sort of we are who we are, mate, sort of thing. It seemed much more measured and tactical. What did you think?
I thought it was a team selection, to be honest, what was a last chance saloon kind of team selection. See Steve Cooper at Wolves away a few seasons back now, which we actually did get a point that day, but, you know, the game after it unravelled against, ironically, Ange's Tottenham. Because it just stepped away from his principles. And when you get him saying, like, he believes in what he's doing, and then he selects that team today, you just kind of like, do you actually believe in it yourself? Not really. And to be honest, as we're going to come on to, the first half, it worked in the sense that we kept Newcastle at arm's length, frustrated them. The two biggest moaners in the league, Reiss and Joel Linton, were obviously biting away. But you always felt that if Newcastle did get ahead, which they did, and up the ante, like they did second half, that they'd win the game, and that's what happened. Very similar as well to the Stoke away game under Houghton, 0-0 at half-time. You kind of got them at arm's length, but they upped it that little bit extra, and you just know when they're going to up it, that they're just going to beat us, and that's what happened. I mean, Eddie Howe's team took half-time was quite easy, wasn't it? You've got, the referee's given an absolutely ridiculous yellow card to Nico Williams, so you're going to try and get Alanga at him every time. Even win a corner from that, because we know we struggle with set pieces, and it's just like a last chance saloon selection for me to basically get a result, mate, and buying him some time.
Yeah, I can totally see why you would see it that way, and to be honest, it did sort of feel like that bit in Mike Bassett really sort of like asked the last roll of the dice, but unfortunately there was no Tonker at the other end of it to save Forest. Elliott, I mean, as Reiss touched upon there, the first half, obviously Joe Linton did miss a sitter, but bar one very good self-save, of course it was from a corner. Forest didn't really create much of note themselves, although Gibbs White, I suppose, did fashion a chance of sorts for Woods. He put a ball across the box, and White looked like the defender, looked like he was going to clear it. It sort of went for his legs, and that seemed to sort of catch Wood a little bit cold. Do you think that he should have done better with that opportunity, or do you think that just because... Do you think we're highlighting it maybe because we've created absolutely nothing apart from that, and as a result, we're sort of looking at it a bit too much under the microscope rather than what it actually was?
I'm not really too sure how to answer that properly, because obviously it's Chris Wood. He'd obviously love to score that. I believe he probably would have done under Nuno, or maybe if Elanga cross-sticks, he knows where he is in the box. But obviously, of course, that's when he was playing for Forest. I'm not really too sure how to answer that, but all I can say is attack-wise, we looked very, very inept. Didn't really know what we were doing. And I just thought that particular point of play just summed it up, really.
Yeah, it was a bit like... It even feels like, even highlighting it feels like clutching at straws, because obviously apart from that there was very little else. You can maybe say the moment towards the end of the game where Hudson-Odoi sort of puts one across goal, maybe Jesus times his run a bit too early, so he kind of has to shoot. That there really was slim pickings. I know that was the only sort of thing really to highlight from the first half, but second half, Danny, was a complete disaster. I mean, there's no getting away from it. It was just horrific. Capped off by Gibbs White losing the ball, and then the defence backs off Bruno Guimaraes, which allows them to put one in the top corner. A goal very reminiscent of the first season. But firstly, do you think more could have been done to prevent the goal? And secondly, do you think it was a foul? Obviously, we and you've had a discussion about this, but it'd be good to get this on air.
Yeah, no, for me, second half, from the first kick of the second half, it was massively open. Midfield was open. It was almost like a matter of time before they scored. I think in the first minute, I'm not just highlighting Yates because he preferred didn't do bad, but I think he got the ball and just volleyed it up the pitch to no one. And then he headed a ball 2 minutes later up the pitch to no one. And you were like, right, so we're just going to keep kicking the ball along now. And then, like you say, they were knocking on the door. I am critical of Gibbs White in that situation. For me, just look after the ball. I know it's easier said than done, but then you could caveat that I can't criticise Yates for just oofing the ball away, and then they then turn around and say, "Oh well, he should just oof the ball away." I just wanted to look after the ball. For me, it's never a foul. It's never a foul in my opinion. It's a good, strong tackle. A tackle where he knows what he's doing. Bruno he's going into the player. He's going into full-blooded. But that's what I want to see from my centre midfielder. That's why he's Newcastle captain. That's why they love him. That's why we all hate him, because that's what he is. He's an absolute leader. He's an absolute monster in there, and he does it every time we play against him. He does it every time I play against him. I think Reiss said it. Oh, everyone assumes, we need some physicality in there because it's Newcastle. He's kicked us off the park no matter who's played in midfield. Other than the one time when it was Sangare and Danilo when we won 3-1, when they played in midfield too. That was the only time they didn't lay a glove on us. But I don't know if they played in that game. I can't remember.
They did. Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So for me, it's not a foul. I'd hate to see that given. And then after what unfolds, defence can do better. They can press the ball. They just back off. But we've seen it against Michelin. There were times where the ball bounces and the defence just drop off. They're not comfortable the minute they have to step forward. They're comfortable defending on the edge of the box. They didn't press the ball. They should have done. And if I'm being hypercritical, I think probably Self should save it. Yeah, I think if you're being... I'm not saying it's an Arla. I'm just saying he's probably saved all the chances today than that one. But that's like I say, you do the basics. You look after the ball in the first instance. They don't break you. You're not set. Everyone's out of position. For me, it does come down to Gibbs White not looking after the ball well enough in that situation. But then, like you've said yourself, there is another phase of play what could do better. But ultimately, for me, the butt lies with the first instance.
No, I completely see that point of view. I think, and I mostly agree with it as well. The only caveat I would give, I've seen people in the comments as well saying that, agreeing with you, no comment, no, like Graham Headworth here saying, no complaints, good hard tackle. Bennett saying, agreeing with that as well. Quite, close gives down, never nick the ball, never a foul sort of thing. The only caveat I would give to that is that Yates was booked for a very similar incident in the first half. And it did kind of feel that, not obviously we can't blame the ref because we were awful. I mean, let's have it right. The referee isn't the reason Forest lost the game today. There's no if, buts, or maybes about it. But I'm at a loss as to how Joe Linton wasn't booked, for example. I thought consistency was all over the place today. No, Joe Linton must have made 4 or 5 fouls today and got nothing. And then you've got Yates booked for a first offence, Morasso booked for a first offence, Williams booked for being kicked. It just feels like, okay, it's probably a case of like, when you're sort of up against it, you sort of take things maybe a bit more sort of, not personally as such, but it's sort of maybe you highlight a bit more. But
yeah, it's like with Williams as well. Like we're saying that's harsh, but I thought he should have been booked for the handball.
Like, that's fair enough.
Do you know what I mean? It's like consistency. That's the most blatant booking handball you'll see. The players kick it past him and
going down the line.
It's purposely stop the ball going down the line. That's the easiest yellow card you can give. So it's like I said to you, like in the chat. It's one of them. I don't tend to pick the refs out because I just don't think. I think it almost gives an excuse, and it's that it gives an excuse. It's like you look at the Dominguez one last week. We all know it's a bad decision, but there's still a free kick to defend, and we haven't defended it. It's like I just can't at the minute justify giving them a way out. And when it's like, I mean, it's maybe a slight difference with the Dominguez one, unless it's an absolute howler. It's like that one today. I think 95% of people, maybe 90% of people will say it's not a foul, and there might be 10% who say it is. So it's not a massive like contentious one for me. So, but the referees, like we've all said, it's consistently at that level. It's just not very good, is it? Like that's where we are with Premier League refing. But no, like you say, I'm not going to let them off the hook. I like to see them big, strong tackles. I like to see. I mean, we say that our players do it. I don't think I've seen one of our players put a tackle like that in for a long time. Genuinely,
probably right. No, that's completely fair view. Reiss, I guess as well. Forest had not made any changes. Nothing really made a difference. If anything, like I alluded to the top of the show, Sells was very much on hand to keep the score respectable. Obviously, Walton hit the bar as well. Before, Anderson very clumsily nearly puts Bruno's ankle into the Gallagher end. I mean, what went wrong above all else? What did go wrong? Because it just felt like an onslaught second half. It didn't feel like, I know obviously Danny's alluded to we're being more open, we're kicking it long sort of thing, we're not looking after the ball as well as we were. It just felt like a total onslaught. There was like no protection, no anything, and the second goal just felt like a matter of time.
Yeah, because we were set up from the off, mate, to try and nick a 0-0. Very similar to, can you remember the Brighton away game first season at Cooper? I don't think we hardly got out of zone half, but we got away with that night because Brighton weren't clinical enough. And when, like Danny said, when you're just booting the ball out, it's just going to come back. And Newcastle are a big side. Baltimore, what is he, 6'6"? Joel Linton's a big lad. Dan Burn, obviously, they're going to keep pumping balls into the box, and at times they are going to get breaks. Once we went behind, like I said, I just never thought we'd get back into the game. And like Andrew's making subs and he's just throwing on people to try and make it stick. I don't think there's any plan really attacking wise. And I just kind of thought it was going to be keeping the score at a minimum. And then you obviously still in the game at the stage where we give the penalty away. But that's just poor from Anderson. Elliott Anderson's been tremendous for Forest, but he's out-ties boiled club there, Anthony, because he was looking at Reiss coming behind him, and then he's obviously overdone his touch, and Reiss has got ahead of him, and it's a stonewall penalty. And I might call Bruno a moaning whatever, but he's a tremendous footballer, and we'd love him in our side. And Danny hit it bang on the head. That's why Newcastle fans love him. We hate him. because he's 100%, he's quality, he's tenacious, he's intense, and he's won that penalty there by just being, I'm not going to call it clever, but just aware of the situation. Yeah. And the penalty, mate, I mean, God, no keeper's got any chance with that, has he? Puts it straight in the top corner. And it just kind of summed the day up, didn't it, really? Yeah. It was, when I seen the team come out, I either thought it was going to be a 0-0, we get a fluke result, or they beat us, and that's what happened. Yeah,
I have to say, I mean, not that I like seeing goals going against Forest, but that was probably one of the best penalties I've ever seen us concede. I don't think we could have had 3 people on the line that was still going in the way he sort of round the top corner. But yeah, it is just a concern. I mean, Elliott as well, it sort of confounded it even further. Very awkward scenes at the end where you've got Ange sort of stood on his own, the players sort of stood to the left of him, they're sort of walking in different directions and they're coming off the field, sort of thing. I mean, do you even think they're playing for him? I mean, is that a controversial thing to ask? Is that, I mean, obviously they're going to play for the badge, of course, they're going to play for their pay packet, of course, but are they playing for him? I'm not fully convinced at this moment in time.
If they are playing for him, then they're playing for him with a lot of confusion around their brains, going like, what are we supposed to do? Blenkovic, as we all know, is a box defender. He's not really a high liner, so that sort of contradicts Ange Ball there. And it's also the fact that sub-wise, he doesn't really seem to know what he's doing either. I personally thought Anderson was looking a bit tired, just before the penalty. Maybe a Sangare, who, as you three all are aware of, was absolutely tremendous during the Boxing Day game of 2023. I thought he could have really done a job today, but wasn't the case. He's not brought him on. So yeah, if they are playing for him, they're very, very confused.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. It just doesn't seem a particularly good situation at this moment in time. I mean, Danny, lastly, I mean, are there any positives you can take from this? I sort of have to ask that because we can't just be like fully sort of like whatever. I mean, for me personally, I thought Jay Cunha looked quite good. I thought on his full debut, I thought obviously Sells looked more like the Sells of old today. Some of the saves he made, the fullbacks look quite all right. Other than that, it's slim pickings really.
Yeah, a massive positive, to be fair, is Cunha. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he had a really good game. I thought he was quick into the tackle. He looked so comfortable on the ball. He looked strong. He won quite a few headers from set pieces. I thought Cunha had a really good game. A really, really good game. I thought Morato did well.
Yes.
He did well. Morato's done well. I think he's the only player that looked improved. But then I think it's because he's just playing football in his natural position. Williams stuck to his task at Elanga, did well. He's been good all season, Anthony Williams, let's be honest. He's probably player of the season this season for me. But then with Neem in the defence, we could have lost 5-0. So was he that good? Do you know what I mean? It comes down to that. It's like, are we just, like you say, clutching at straws? I'm just lost for words at the minute. Like I say, I don't really know. Like what we said with Sangare, like what's he thinking? Like he probably was the man of the match on Thursday. We know he could do it at their place. He's not even got on pitch today. Dominguez exactly the same. Not got on the pitch when he started only a week ago. It's like it's throwing everything at the wall, just with no cohesion of what he wants to do. It's like you say, if you believe in your ethics and what you're about, you don't pick that team today, regardless. You don't. You might as well die on the hill, aren't you? If you're for ethics, that you play football, you look to play possession. I know the reason he's done that today. We know there's a get out of jail free card at this club, and it's Ryan Yates. Is you get out of free jail? He is. People will be like, "Oh well, Yates is back in." I've seen loads of people saying it, and Yates wasn't bad today. I'm not saying they were bad, but it's almost like, well, he wouldn't to believe that he can do what he wants them to do, because otherwise he'd have played him, like say, midweek, or he'd have played him minutes before this. He's just picked a team what he didn't believe in. So how can we believe in him when we didn't anyway? So, but that's negatives. On the positive, yeah, Cunha, good. Sol's made some good saves. Milenkovic looked better when he was defending on his halfway line, but the minute he had to go higher, it didn't look as comfortable. Morato's filled in really well for Murillo. Williams has been really good. And I thought Cho looked all right when he come on. If I'm clutching at straws, I thought
He looked
Cho
very
looked
bright,
all
I
right.
thought. Yeah, he looked
Yeah.
bright.
But other than that, like with the Anderson one, that was poor. Absolute awful from a midfielder. Awful. Especially in your own penalty area. Awful. So yeah, no, they're the only positives I can pick. And if Ange gets sacked tonight, that's a massive positive.
That would be a good positive. Unfortunately, it hasn't come from my phone yet, so we still must be waiting. But in the meantime, we'll have a look at your not quite slept on it thoughts.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
Right, so we'll start with NFFC Bod, who goes, it won't be the end for Ange. Fans always second-guessing Marinakis, we're getting him wrong. We'll see. Thomas Newton said, being pragmatic today has meant zero threat. Thought he was honking 11 from the get-go. The lads dug in and frustrated, but making silly mistakes let them get a foothold. Regardless of it being Ange or Nuno or someone else, no wins in 8 or 9 will bring pressure. I'd get rid. The most alarming aspect was that the first half, Betis is some of the best football we've seen in our lifetime. The fall off is just a short space of time. The last 3 games, straight after Sunderland's, Midtjylland's and Newcastle, is biblical. I can understand it was 3-4 months on, not 10 days ago. Carl Booth said, first half okay, very workmanlike, didn't really threaten, and second half abomination. Get him gone ASAP. We need someone who can keep us up when we aren't even at 10 games and we look down already. Gibbs White not been the same since the Cup semi, big change needed. Sammy Slack says the experiment is over. Decent first half, just clues on the ball. Players don't look arse at the end. Pay the compensation for silver and let's salvage this season. The board have royally messed up. Capability in function. Ange might as well be the next James Bond. Of course, made 007 today. Brilliant. That's obviously no wins, no clean sheets, 7 games, for those who aren't aware of that trend. If we wanted a coach to set up to contain and play on the break, we had one who was better at it. Ange isn't even being true to his style. He's scrambling around for a solution. Abdul on the Moon said, much better display today. Ref decisions across the match cost us in the big moments. Ultimately, though, another loss. I fully expect Ange to part ways by mutual consent now. Stick Gamer says, big thought here, but first half we were strong and we held our own. Second half we threw it away, questioning the players and the ref, sure, but the main blame's on Ange for me. To pick players who are underperforming like Gibbs White and Wood is the worst mistake ever. Mark Baker said we set up like a championship side in the cup, hoping in hope for a clean sheet, but always knowing the goal was coming. And what was that thing about with Hudson-Odoi, where Andrew's basically telling him all he wants to do is run up and down the line. The bloke is clueless. Sid said nearly everyone said anyone but Ange. Ange is the wrong fit, wrong style, wrong tactics for this group of players. He should be taking a flight out of Heathrow Airport back down under. Never should have been hired. Rob said, best squad in the generation and in a relegation battle. Players aren't putting it in, so they can have a nice little break with international teammates and have a laugh at Ange Ball. A nice break to get away from this mess Dino's put us in. And last but not least, Johnny Antcliffe said, okay, first half, but expletive second half. Came for a point and left with nothing again. Ange has to go tonight. Marinakis has screwed up what should be a special season. I'm done with this season already. Thank you, as always, for your slept on it thoughts, especially when not quite slept on it too, because now we're moving forward with on-day responses as well. I will give you all a bit of a stats blitz. Unfortunately, they aren't quite the fun stats that Elliott comes out with, but they're still a stats blitz nonetheless.
Minor facts.
Today, yeah, well, these are facts too, technically. So today, for those data nerds / Brentford fans, Newcastle got 3.28 XG. We got 0.29. Even if you take away the 0.75 for the penalty, that shows that they absolutely battered us, which is pretty reflective of what we saw with our own eyes and what Sales had to deal with. It's now 16 goals in 7 games for Ange. If you're being nice and you take out the Arsenal game, it's 13 goals in 6. It's 1 win in 17 domestic games for Ange, and that was against the Southampton side who got 12 points last season. It's 30 losses in the last 49 Premier League games for him. Still no win in charge of Forest. where I'm not going to bother with player performances because, you know, realistically, none of them really warranted a wage, maybe apart from themselves and a few others. But like they alluded to, if you're conceding 2 goals, it should be 6. Have the defence really been that good? Difficult to say. So I will ask you instead, where are you at with Ange, and what would you like to see next? So Reiss, I'll start with you. Just how are you sort of seeing things at this moment in time?
I mean, just to touch on the defence as well, because I didn't think most of the defence played bad, but when you're under the cosh for 90 minutes, you do need some relief. You are in the Premier League, the teams are going to make chances, or as we saw, have a shot from 25 yards, what goes in. Yeah, look, you know, I'll do a little bit of a timeline for when he was appointed. I don't think there was any Forest fan I actually saw who actively wanted Ange, which says it all. I think as fans, because, you know, we're all match-going fans who pay us hard-earned money to go and watch Forest. We travel with Forest away as well. You always have to give somebody a chance. But as I said, when he was appointed, you need results quickly, because when you are coming in against the grain, you know you haven't got as much time. New Cooper at Leicester is the prime example. You know, the Arsenal game, I'm happy to discard that because, he'd been here 2 days. You know, he obviously then says after that game that we're going to see his kind of methods, which he at Swansea away, where we go 2-0 up, we play well first half, and then we collapse to a Championship side and lose 3-2. And we was 2-1 up in injury time as well. We then obviously followed that up with Burnley away, where we drew 1-1. We played all right, created chances, but didn't win the game. We then go to Betis, obviously go 1-0 down, play really, really well for 15, 20 minutes, as good as I've seen a Forest side play. But then second half, you know, he took Douglas Luiz off, and he didn't do that light flight change, what was working first half in the centre mid area. And second half, we're a bit under the cosh, and we inevitably concede late on. And then obviously you're thinking there, you've seen a few positives in this play. We've not got the results yet, but Betis a draw and Burnley a draw aren't the end of the world. Going out the Carabao Cup isn't the end of the world in the grand scheme of things. But you're then leading it up to a game against Sunderland at home, who, have done all right since they've come up, but they've gone away to everybody, been beat twice by Burnley and United, and then drew with Palace without reply. They come to us, a beat us 1-0 from a set piece. People can say, it's, you know, it shouldn't have been a free kick, but we completely switch off. We had no idea second half of how really, apart from Wood's header. You know, we had that compilation, didn't we, their keeper's saves. He didn't really pull out any amazing saves. You're then going into a game on Thursday night against Midtjylland, who, and you basically concede 3 goals to them, who are playing in a far lesser league. I had a look. I don't think they've scored 3 goals away against a team in Europe since about 2015. Hibs drew with them away. The Hibs from Scotland. They've got Jordan Smith in goal, who most of our fans said wasn't good for the Championship. You know, this is the reality. You can't beat them. And then you've obviously gone today where he's literally gone away from his philosophy, tried to get a point. It's not worked out, and then we've had no idea. The players look confused. They're not working the bollocks off for him. You can see it. They just look like I haven't had my sound in the Midtjylland game, but obviously the other night was such a special night for his fans, and you saw the formation what he lined up with, and you're like, what is this? We're playing Ndoye at right wing back against a side who should be looking to play on the front foot again, which is apparently his philosophy, and it was just all over the place. Hence why we conceded goals all over the place, and you know, like you said, Christian, no wins in 7. We all said at the start this appointment wouldn't be right, and I don't like being proved right, because I'd rather be sat here now and Ange has proved us all wrong, and we've got off to a brilliant start. We're all buzzing, but you know, I think it was Johnny Ancliffe who said this season was meant to be really special for us as a club, and it's feeling like a slog already. And it's like I just said, that night, Thursday night, was meant to be a special night, and I just didn't enjoy it one bit. And you're kind of now looking, really, that hoping that he gets sacked and we'll admit it's a mistake. And it's kind of like the Porto game, which is obviously sandwiched in between the Chelsea and the Bournemouth game. It's like, can we just forget about Midtjylland, and this is his first night back in Europe at home again? You know what I mean? As if that never happened. Like The Simpsons, Christian, where Bart drops the baseball to keep doing all the sketches until he finally catches it. That kind of vibe. It's just been a disaster, mate. And the fans have gone, you know, what happened on Thursday night. The players don't look like, to me, they're investing in it. There's just I just don't see any way back. And I don't want to give him any more time, mate. It was an appointment I didn't want. And I think after 7 games, why would fans give more time to someone who they didn't want in the first place after no wins in 7 games when we're not looking any better? Yeah, he's got to go, mate, for me. And, you know, it's not just it's not his fault. He has to take some blame, but the owner, Edu, Nuno, the players, everybody has to take some of the blame, mate, because it's not been good enough across the board. And unfortunately, it's us fans who are suffering. And there'll be some people who say, yeah, well, the fans have got to do a bit more. We're packing out stadiums. You've had 3,000 travel up to Newcastle on a Sunday afternoon with no hope of getting a result, pretty much. You know, we packed it out the other night at £50 to £70 a ticket, with no disrespect to Midtjylland. They're not a formidable European side, are they? And we're just being treated to these performances, and it's not acceptable from the club. And Marinakis, with the ambition he has, he won't find it acceptable at all. Yeah, it's just not good enough, mate, and it needs to be changed. And it needs a quick decision, because I can't be asked to wait a week into the window. I know we're only going to have half a squad, and then we change, and then it's like, oh, the new manager's got 2 days to work with. It needs to be done tomorrow, in my opinion, and the process should have been underway before today of who's going to come in and replace him.
No, I would completely agree with that. I think that's pretty much right. But I think what I've always found interesting with Forest fans is that, or football fans in general, doesn't matter, not necessarily aligned to Forest, but you get your online fans, if you like. I'm not obviously saying that they're different, but generally speaking, those online who have an opinion and event and whatever else, and you know, we're all guilty of that, myself especially. That isn't necessarily what's reflected in the stadium. Normally, those in the stands are more measured, more balanced. They sort of, you know, they're sort of going through it with you at the same time, so it's a little bit different. You know, people that you'll see have like, you know, players that have like dissenters online, for example, they do something in the ground that's good. They're like, oh yeah, nice pass, nice touch, that was positive. That you'll hear those sorts of things around you, generally speaking. But like normally, even when with Forest standards, it's normally the away ones that sort of go first, if you like. Like think back to when the O'Neill reign, which, as you touched upon before, Reiss, you know how divisive that was. I remember being 3-0 down away at Wednesday, and Pele comes off the bench.
Yeah, Hugh at Stoke's a prime example.
Yeah, and you hear, like, you know, Forest fans singing "We're effing this" and chanting Carvalho's name, but it's very rare that spreads to the home games. So to hear it on Thursday night, where you know you've got Forest fans singing Sacks in the morning, Nuno chants, etc., 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 that's when you know there's. You know, I've seen that film countless times before with Forest over the years. The ending's never changed. It's always the exact same. The manager goes. So I don't personally see a way back for him. Elliott, obviously, I don't know if you feel the same way. How are you sort of feeling about this moment in time? Just because it's bleak, isn't it?
Okay, so obviously Reiss got the nail on the head there, but I sort of would like to add a little bit more, if that's all right with you guys. Personally, like my personal belief is regarding this Premier League lark. If you don't believe you can beat your opponent, you've got absolutely no business being in this league. Go back to the Championship, where anybody can beat anybody. Now, as they say, there's no easy games in the Premier League, but it feels like at the moment that we're an easy game for like these like I'm going to say Champions League clubs, because Newcastle are in the Champions League, but it just seems to be like very, very easy to beat us. I think the commentator Bill Leslie today said Nick Pope has had a very comfortable game, which you don't want to hear that. If we are to compete at this level, we're going to have to compete. That was one of Nuno's main things: compete. Even if we do lose, I don't mind we lose, but at least anything is possible if we actually try to beat our opponent. Now, I'm not seeing this in the last couple of games. I'm also, the Midtjylland thing. I was so excited to be there, and then like we played the way we did, going 2-1 down, and it just felt like something was just ripped out of me. And that's the first time I've felt like this as a Forest fan since Steve Cooper was in charge. So I'm with you guys on this. Yeah, I really hope Mr. Marinakis is actually watching this because, you know, fans like us, like we're not finding this acceptable. I want him to go. Simple as.
Can I just say as well, Michelin were 8-1. 8-1 to beat us Thursday night. I generally don't think there would have been a team in my lifetime who's come to the City Ground and beat us at 8-1. That's how bad it was. And a Yeovil's the ultimate, and then like you get in a crap like Weymouth drawing to them, but that was right up there for me because they were bloody 8-1 to beat. We were 1-3 to win that game, and we've lost and conceded 3 goals as well to them. Not just they've sucker punched us 1-0 where we've battered them, for example. 3 goals to them. Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Absolutely awful. Danny, I think the thing for me is that, and I'm sure obviously given you played at a much higher level than all of us have, it's that if you look at the managers that we've had previously, like Cooper and Nuno, for example, whenever they spoke, and I know obviously there's a lot of ill feelings towards Nuno at the minute, how he handled things, like Reiss touched upon earlier, and rightfully so, because he's not admonished to blame in this whole cluster. But whenever they spoke in the media, it was always a collective. It was always us, a we, a sort of, we'll get through this, we'll do this, we need everyone there, we'll come together. With Ange, it's always I'm up for the challenge. I want a trophy at Spurs. I like a fight. How do you sort of see that? And again, where are you at with the whole sort of in or out at the minute?
Well, personally, I'll start off with I'm not in the camp. I see a few people in the camp of it was perfect under Nuno. I'm not in that camp. I thought we got to find out. I've seen people saying, why have we had to adopt a new style of play? The reason we had to adopt a new style of play is because it wasn't working. That's it, top and bottom of it. There's no way we'd have changed the way of play if it worked. Because what happened was ultimately we got found out. Teams started stepping off from us. We had to have more of the ball. And I'm talking teams like Southampton, who got 12 points, who were stepping off and caused us trouble. It become hard for us to play that style of football because people knew we was dangerous at it. So I'm not in the camp of everything was amazing under Nuno. Then Ange has come in. None of us wanted Ange. None of us. There was some of us stronger opinions than others, rightly so. Yourself, Christian. One thing I will give you credit to, you said the exact same last year when it was there. Like what Elliott's just said, we are an easy game, but Tottenham's Ange's Spurs was an easy game. I can remember you pre-match for the Spurs games last year. You were like, "We're going to win them." Like it's Ange's Tottenham. Yeah. Like credit to you. Like that's. But then, like you say, I wasn't in that camp that I'm not going to give him a chance because at the end of the day, I wanted to give him a chance, see how it goes. I've probably seen 45 minutes of football, which were half decent. Which were decent. No, it were good. It were good. I've seen nothing since, and I'm not one of these fans that's about. I don't want to see the ball get passed sideways and sideways and sideways. I touched on it with you in the group chat. The most exciting player Wednesday against Michelin Thursday was Sangare when he picked the ball up from deep and drove straight through midfield. Anderson and Gibbs-White, a lot of the work they're doing, it looks neat, but it's going left to right. It's easy to defend. You just jockey across. You just keep moving, keep them spaces tight. You'll defend it all day. And he just looks clueless. And with what you're saying with him using himself rather than a we and this, that, and the other, he's talking as if he's took a relegation team on. He's talking as if he's took a team on who were tipped to get relegated and his job's to save us. We're 5 games into, we're not even in relegation zone yet. It's in Europe. This is what I keep saying, when people say, well, who's going to come? We're in Europe. We've played 2 games. We've played 7 games now, have we, in the Premier League?
Yeah, 7 games there.
We've got bags of talent in the squad. It's not a difficult job. You're not going to come into it. If you do bad in the job, as bad as he's done, that's the only way you're going to get tarnished with because it's horrific. The stats you've just reeled off, they're horrific. I wanted him gone after the Michelin game. To be honest, after the Sunderland game, I was a bit like, this isn't working, this isn't right. The Michelin game, it could have been sat there and then for me because they were crap. And I was going to say this, like, I know people, Burnley are crap. They're crap, right? People can say, oh, the start one. Sunderland are crap. They were rubbish against us. We just all give them credit. But they are, Man United didn't even, they battered them. And it's Man United who are rubbish.
Add West Ham to that as well.
Yeah, West Ham are awful. They're awful. Like Burnley will finish bottom of the league if it's not us. Like they are. It's all right at the start of the season. Leeds again. They won't sustain it. So the new season, Barnes, we all know what happens. As the cream comes to the top, it always does. And by that, I don't mean all teams finish top half. I'm talking West Ham will get stuff in order and be comfortable. We've seen it. The last 3 seasons, start season, Wolves have started rubbish. Didn't even look in trouble towards the end. That was it last season or the season before under Lopetegui? Yeah. Everton. Yeah. Everton, exactly the same. Oh, they look in trouble. They didn't look in trouble by the end of the season. That's what happens. And the only thing I will say is, if we keep Ange, we could slip into that because I can't see. If I was playing for him, and you've gone from a system, you've got players like say I play defence, Milenkovic, looking at Milenkovic. He's looking at that and he's thinking, this system's going to be a bit uncomfortable for me. I'm happy playing in the system I was in where I sit back, everything's at me. I'm not getting turned. I'm not getting pulled here, left, right and centre. My fullbacks aren't bombing on constantly, so I'm having to go out wide because no one wants to go out wide as a centre half. No one does. We've seen it many times before. We've seen it under Cooper when Joe Worrell a few times had to get dragged out wide and we're like, what's he doing going out there? Like,
we've seen it with Morata, haven't we? Recently?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want you're looking and for you to then buy into a new manager's methods who are totally different. You better win because if you don't, you've got as daft as it sounds, they've got an easy escape. Like we're all panning Ange, rightly so, but the players have been as bad. But we're not going to pin it on them because we're looking at them thinking, well, you did well under this system. I think they've got a lot more to show. To be fair, they could go into a new, more possession-based system because they're good players. But as a player, you're not going to believe it. And it's like we're saying, oh, we're going to give them the international break. Half the team aren't even going to be there. And half of the team that are away on international duty are going to be thinking, God, I don't want to go back there. I can't. They will, because they're going to go into a total different environment. The environment, I imagine, isn't great at the club. It's like what's happened today is try to play a different style of football, and that's not worked. So as a player, you're looking and you're thinking, what is he doing? Where do we go from here? Because we can't play defensive football. Because I know people say we looked compact to this. Even in previous seasons, we put, other than the first season when we were just finding our feet, but under Nuno and Cooper at times, we played in some games where we sat back and we did poise a threat. We did poise a threat. There was chances for us in games. Today there was not, like you said, you're clutching at straws with a Chris Wood chance. You're clutching, it's nothing. It's a nothing chance. Should really get cleared by a defender. It's an easy clearance. It's almost a mistake from a defender. Is absolutely clueless and he's got to go. He's got to go. And the only reason that is in the job is because the Marinakis is chosen him. We've seen it. It's like there were times where we knew Marinakis weren't really happy that the managers got the credit over him at times. And you could see it didn't sit well. They were one with Cooper, weren't they? And I think even with Nuno at times, it was a bit like, I think he gets a bit like, well, I'm here, I'm the one that's pumping the money in. Whereas this time, he's made a decision which no one wanted other than him. And we don't know whether Edu's had an influence in it. We don't know. Something's happened because, like we spoke about, is Alfred Nuno a 3-year contract pre-season? So something's happened where you're like, what has that? There's no way it's gone that bad to where, oh, we're just going to have to ring Ange up. They'd have been wanting him. We know it. We know what football's like. They'll be doing it now. They'll be after someone now. And if he manages another game for Forest, it's one too many. It's one too many. If he takes another training session, it's one too many. Because I just can't see how he's going to turn it round at all. Because we need to. What system does he play next game? Like, and people are saying, "Oh yeah, he's been hard done by with injuries." He hasn't. We played Midtjylland. Do you know what I mean? And lost. We've played Midtjylland and lost. Like with Gibbs White available, Anderson who plays for England, Milenkovic who's Serbian captain, Belgian international Sells. You've got how much we spent on wingers? 90 million quid on wingers. Like these was all available. Granted, Murillo's a massive blow. But Morato, we are talking about, he's done really well going in there. Yeah, he's not Murillo. We know that, but not many defenders are. But he's not been. You're not watching it and thinking, God, they're targeting him. Morato being targeted. You're looking and thinking, well, he's going in there and doing a job. So, like I say, we're all in the same boat, aren't we? Let's be honest. I don't think you might find the happiest of happy clappers saying you can't talk about people like that. This is a human. You've got to keep him in a job. It don't work like that. Like Reiss says, we're following him left, right, and centre. We're going wherever we can go. We're spending thousands to go and watch him. And I've seen people go, "Oh yeah, the atmosphere's died." It hasn't. That pre-match at the Europa League game was absolutely amazing. Thursday night? The atmosphere before, there was a buzz. Everyone were buzzing. And we spoke about it before. As fans, if you're watching rubbish and you're still cheering and going mad, you're as bad as the others. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can only reciprocate what you see. And that's it. So, yeah, my long answer, but no, I want him gone. I want him gone tonight.
No, you're certainly not alone in that. I mean, I'm still sort of glancing at my phone, hoping for a corner flag, but it hasn't come as of yet. But it does feel like inevitability at this point. Question from Tom here: who do you want as manager if the answer is to get rid, which hopefully it will be? Reiss, I'll start with yourself. Who do you want in?
Well, I mean, I think we would have been in a better position when we did decide to part Nuno if we would have looked at. There was 3 names, weren't there, from the Premier League. Glasner is a definite no now because, and I think he would have been then, to be honest, because I think he leaves Palace at the end of the season. His stock's really high. 100% I think there'll be clubs out there, big clubs, who will be looking for a manager, and
he'll get Champions League, I reckon.
Yeah, agree. Iraola probably the same.
Yeah, 100%.
He's in a good structure at Bournemouth. Look at Bournemouth. They sold what? They sold Kirkaz, sold Aziza Balaga. Yeah, the whole. So that's 4 their back 5 gone. I think they're 3rd in the league. You know what I mean? Because they've got a good manager who can adapt. And he's like, right, okay, we've got rid, but the next conveyor belt. Brighton are the exact same similar model. It's the next conveyor belt in line. The one that obviously is Silva, but we don't know how much he's going to cost. We know he's out of contract end of the season, but yeah, I'm not. Obviously, I've seen a few Fulham fans wanting him gone, but I wouldn't say I'm massively struck on him. Fulham are very inconsistent. Now you can argue, have Fulham backed him enough, but they're very inconsistent, and I think people just put 2 and 2 together because him and Marinakis are like. Obviously, the articles that come out in the past, and it's like, well, they work really well, so let's get him. I mean, is he better than Ange? Yeah, but look, I'm not. I don't know all the coaches, the big up and coming coaches in Europe. That's on the club to know that. They've got scouts everywhere. This is why people are paid big bucks at the top of the club, and scouts, Edu, them type of people, because they should be going out there and finding the manager they reckon suits this squad and suits Nottingham Forest, you know. And then, I mean, I saw Forest Focus put a list up of obviously out of work managers. I mean, Christ. I mean, and then we're getting some fans are like, oh, let's go for Ten Hag and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah,
some of the managers mentioned. I mean,
I saw that list. Like, Rafa Benitez was on that list. I was like, what's he doing there?
I mean,
who in God's right mind has put Rafa Benitez on a list of viable candidates for Nottingham Forest jobs? Shoot them at once.
Like, I think, as Lee famously said, the Spanish Tony Pulis or Alan Pardew. I mean, he's long gone. He's dinosaur territory along with a load of the others. I mean, we've spoken about it in this group, haven't we? As a firefighter, you're looking Sean Dyche
Right.
because obviously his connection with Nottingham. But like Danny said, are we really at that stage already? Are we really that desperate for something like that to come in? Because that's an end of December kind of appointment, isn't it? Where you're thinking, God, let's get a couple of players in a transfer window, what the manager wants, and keep us in the league. Like I've seen fans already saying, like they want to knock the Europa League on the head. And it's like, we're 2 games in to the Europa League. We've got 3 home games, 2 of them. Michelin we should be beaten. I know we haven't. 2 of them should be nailed on wins, Malmo and Ferencvaros. Porto have started well, but if you look at their squad, isn't amazing. And then you're going away to Graz, Utrecht and Braga. I mean, none of them are... I mean, we've done his hardest away game, in our opinion. I've not waited 30 years as a fan to get back into Europe and thinking the Premier League's so bad that they can just toss the Europa League off. I want to see us fighting on all fronts. That's why we got this squad at the start of the season, the money Marinakis has invested. So, I don't know, mate. Unless you're in the club, you don't kind of know who's attainable and that, do you? You don't obviously know the financial things about it. I think there was a rumour, wasn't there, when Ange was appointed, the Rayo Vallecano manager was linked. I'm not sure on his name, but obviously they've done really well in Spain. They qualified for the Conference League. You're kind of looking at Iraola kind of mould, aren't they? Who did Iraola come from? I'm not too sure.
I think it was a lesser
team in Spain. They want to... Yeah.
Might have been beat Vallecano.
I've got a feeling it's Vallecano, you know.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those sort of like smaller Spanish clubs.
Which is what that guy's from, yeah. So yeah, that's why they pay the big bucks, mate. As fans, yeah, we can offer options, but the club know the finances and the scouting behind it all. I'd like to think, like I said earlier, that the plans was in. But to be honest, you should, Brighton, the masters at this, you should always have a plan in place for who's a succession, because you don't know what might happen. Like Nuno, for example, when we had him last season, his stock was high. He was out of contract at the end of the season. Someone from Saudi could have come in and go, we'll pay you a stupid amount of money a week. And he might have been like, yeah, I'll lay a bit of that. You've seen it with Inzaghi from Inter. They got to the Champions League final, fighting for Serie A every season. He's gone out there because of the money. So I'd like to think a business would have a succession plan in place, and they kind of know in the mind's eye if something does go, like for example, we all think Gibbs White would go next summer. What we brought him, I know it hasn't worked so far, but we brought in McAtee because we think he's going to be the next person to take over from him. That's the succession plan you've got to have in a business. So I hope we've got that, and I hope we've got candidates lined up, and not this, let's scratch his heads and just have scat about a bit. That should already be in process. So let the likes of Edu and the owner, especially Edu, earn his money, and the others as well.
Sirianov as well. I mean, to be fair, Sirianov actually
Ross Wilson, all these people at the top of the club. That's why they're at the top of the club, to make these big decisions. But unfortunately, they got the Postecoglou wrong, and we as fans, 95% of it at least, saw it coming. Unfortunately, and I hate saying that because I'd want to be sat here being positive, but you just can't be at the minute.
What about yourself in terms of who would you like as a replacement?
All right. Well, obviously, in an ideal world, we're not going to get him, and quite a few people have said this in the comments. In an ideal world, I'd love for it to be Jurgen Klopp, but it's not going to be. So, as much as I'd love that.
Well, he said he's done with football, doesn't he? Management. I don't know if you heard his comments. I know that's not going to happen, but he said he doesn't miss anything about football management.
Oh yeah, but he might miss it. He's doing those silly adverts for hotels at the moment. So.
I think he's Red Bull, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's doing it. Yeah, but he's also doing silly adverts. What I kind of want is, like, for now, just like, yeah, okay, we are in Europa, and I want us to go as far as possible. But right now, if I was Marinakis, I would be seriously concerned, because the amount of money that he's put into this club, and he's not getting the results he wants. Ideally, I'm sort of looking for somebody with Premier League experience who can compete in this league. Now, take your Forest scarves off for a minute. If anybody would be available, everybody would have picked Nuno at this point, but obviously, of course, gone straight back to West Ham. No way coming back for us. I'm sorry. So I think in an ideal world, I'd like Marco Silva to come in as soon as his contract finishes at Fulham. So at the moment, I would like to find some kind of like interim manager just for now, just to like get everything sorted. As my mum would say as well, just I don't care who we get in, just sort it, get that clown out. That's literally what my mum said earlier while I was watching the game.
Isn't wrong. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, Dana, you about yourself. You've got a name very quickly before we wrap up.
Yeah, I'd go for Marco Silva. I think he'd be the obvious choice. I quite like him. I mean, you look at what he's done at Fulham. They're a stable Premier League team. I think they went. Did they go up when we went up?
They did,
Do you know what I mean?
We've only got
and you don't look at them.
We did,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've only
So
got
they
3
depart,
points
didn't
off them since promotion as well. So
yeah, you don't
always
ever
kick
look
our
at you don't ever look at Fulham, do you, and think, oh, they're in trouble. You never have done. So I'd take him. I don't think he's been back there. I mean, yesterday they didn't even have a fit striker. He brings in good players. He attracts good players. I mean, he took Anderson from Palace, didn't he? Like he's got pull as a manager. I think the fans would take to him. For me, he's a less of a risk.
Yeah,
I think your chances of it going really bad with him are very minimal compared to where we are. And then you look at the compensation thing side of it, it'll cost us more getting relegated.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It'll cost us more getting relegated. So yeah, he'd be my choice. I'm not one of these people that can pull a Ursula out of the bag or some manager that I've never heard of. Even Maresca. Do you know what I mean? It's like Reiss said, there's people I paid who's more qualified than that. But then if that's the same people who've made the judgment to get Ange, I don't know if I trust their opinion. So no, for me,
Look on.
Yeah, I'm just going to say for me, to be quick, it'd be Marco Silva, and I think he takes the job. I don't think for a minute he wouldn't. He's almost running down his contract. What's the worst that he can do? That people say, why would he take it? What, earn stupid money if it goes tits up, get sacked, get a payout? Do you know what I mean? It's football. That's football. So no, I'd take him every day of the week.
You guys might not agree, but Ange was a Marinaki supporter and wanted.
Oh, of course he was.
All day, every day of the week. That's why he's still in the job.
Bennett put it in there as well, and he said like aim has got blame has to be pointed in his direction. It's true. It's very clearly Marinaki.
That doesn't mean we all of a sudden want him out of the club. At the end of the day,
no, it just means that
he runs this business. He's the godfather into the club, so the buck stops with him at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, that's it. And I also, just for wrap it, I would also go for Marco Silva. I feel that in terms of what we wanted, think back to pre-season, we wanted Forest to be more expansive, but still keep the core principles from last season. So you still want to be tight defensively, just a bit more adventurous going forward, not quite as one-dimensional. Like to see Forest maybe have, go from 44% to say 49-50 to be a bit better with the ball, but also still keep. Silva does that. You look at what he's done defensively; they're very good. He turned Anthony Robinson one of the best left backs in the league. He's turned, Anderson and Bassey safe as houses. Leno in goal, got him way back to his form pre-Arsenal and got him firing again. He loved working with Seld. He loved working with Milenkovic, Murillo, etc., etc. And you look at the players about going forwards. The Brazilian wingers they've had over like Willian and whatever else. He just seems to eke things out of players. So even strikers, everyone said Jimenez was finished. Silva got hold of him. He started scoring goals again. Like he do exactly the same with Chris Wood. He do exactly the same with Jesus and probably Callum Window as well. I think also just given that his league knowledge and whatever else, other people in the comments have said this as well. If you've got £37.5 million on the back of a sofa to sign a winger, you can afford say £5, £6, £7 million for compensation to get Marco Silva. It's no different. And we all know. Let's put this on. We all know. None of us are stupid. We all know full well that come next summer. Because of how this season's gone and what we are likely to achieve, there will be sales. We know that. We know there's going to be sales. So if you're going to sell these players anyway, or some of them, at least give him some kind of war chest. Get him out now. Say we'll sip. Let's have or try and have what's left of a good season. I think with Silva, Forest could be very competitive if he gets his ideas in and bets it through. I don't think it'd be as longer transition either. I don't think it's too dissimilar to Nuno. It's just much more expansed. Yeah, and then go again. And then once we have to sell an Anderson or Morello or Gibbs White, whatever, give that money to let him reinvest it and go again, back him. That's what I do for me. But
I agree with you guys, by the way. And it was something I said a while ago on the pod. Like, when you're paying this amount of money for players, a manager is a massive commodity of the club.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just that what I'm coming from with my comment then is Marinakis doesn't pay for managers.
But you might have to now.
The only manager he's paid for, I believe, is Cooper, because he was on gardening leave at Swansea.
Yes, he was.
So,
I
agree. I totally agree with you.
Well, that's similar situation, isn't it? It was on the brink of relegation. We needed to pay for someone. We got someone.
Well, let's hope it happens, because as well that people might say, "Oh, would Silva come?"
He can't.
100%.
We're in the Europa League. He's got a chance to manage in Europe. He's got a chance with Forest to win the Europa League if he obviously hits the ground running, and get himself as a Champions League manager last season. That's a massive entitlement. I know, obviously, London's lovely, apparently. But
Fulham is.
come to I won't say my favourite Italian this week. Come and have a Calcutta club with us, Marco.
Oh dear. But anyway, guys, many thanks for coming on. Thanks to everyone in the comments. Thanks to everyone who's been watching. We got to a peak of 663 people, which is quite impressive. So to sort of ruminate in our anti-Ange rhetoric, because we'll be no doubt brandished with my friends down under as they watch this video at 2 a.m, whatever it is. But yeah, obviously over the international break, we've still got a fair bits to come. We'll have a Chelsea preview. There'll be a few other bits and bobs as well before we look ahead. The good news is, for those listening, is 13 days without Forest, which means we might actually enjoy our lives. England might play well. Who knows? We'll get to see Anderson, Gibbs White play. Or nicely, Gibbs White perform well after today. Until then, just obviously, hopefully, we're called into action a bit sooner than expected when the corner flag drops. I think that's a when, not an if. Elliott, would you like to add something before we go?
Yeah, just wondering if you guys would like Well, I wish it was, but I just thought, obviously, of course, we've got a lot of our chest today, but I thought to myself, would you like a funny story before we wrap things up for another break?
Yeah, and on a positive.
Yeah, let's do that. So this is from the Glasgow Times in 2019, and I actually used this in my stand-up set, and I really thought we need to cheer you guys up, so I'm going to do it now. So in 2019 in Dundee, a woman sparked absolute outrage when she tried to sell a rug on the Facebook Marketplace for £100. Now, this rug was a taxidermied sort of laid out. Basically, it was from a dead dog. So she was trying to sell a dead dog taxidermied rug, and the reason she wanted to sell this rug is because her new dog kept trying to hump it. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple TV or Apple, just Google it. But I'm just going to basically show you what she was trying to sell.
Oh my God!
So yeah, this is
Jesus.
So yeah, she was trying to sell it because her new dog kept trying to hump it. So
I've got that in my front room.
That proper like it freaks me out. Is it taxidermy? And
yeah, I find it weird.
I've had someone ask me to deliver a couple of bits before, and I was like, no chance.
Yeah, it's freaky. Each their own,
especially a dog. Jesus,
I find it very, very bizarre. But anyway, on that note, thank you, Elliott.
Scotland now.
Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm sure we'll be with you sooner rather than later. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. And yeah, enjoy your Forest free week. I'm sure we will. Until next time, though, we'll be back. I'm sure once the disappointment sort of disapparates and hopefully we get Marco Silva into the Chelsea game and the excitement builds again, we'll be there. We'll be ready. Yeah, this will end. We've seen this film before. We know how it ends. It's just a matter of time now. So don't sleep over it. Enjoy yourselves. And yeah, until next time, come on your heads.